Mason, he just has a lot of personality. He is full of energy. He loves to just be doing flips and somersaults and jumping, and he wants to be shooting a ball or have a hockey stick or a puck, and he's very into the sports, especially hockey is his favorite.
Alona is optimistic and eager for anything. It's something that she's a delight to have around. She picks up your day.
She's not shy, she's very gregarious, and she's just a sweet, funny little girl.
Mason's story has so many levels of depth. He was in a Russian orphanage, and he had been put there because the parents sensed no hope.
Yeah, I had a real interest in orphans because I was an orphan myself. So I know the heart of the orphan. I know what the orphan feels like. I know what their needs are. I know what their longing is and what their problems are.
God used Alexandra and George and the Wolves and Lee and all the beautiful volunteers that have been involved in that life to change his life.
We got an email. It was a picture of Mason, Sergey at the time, and he was, I think, about 3 months old. Yeah. And Alexandra had sent this, and it had been forwarded to us. Melissa and the girls had seen this email, and that's what prompted an immediate response really on their part.
Miranda saw him.
Miranda.
And said, I think he's the one we've been praying for. So I called Alexandra, and she said, Melissa, we found a doctor who's willing to sponsor Mason. And so in order for me to send his paperwork off, I have to not only have a doctor, but I need to have a host home. Would you be his host family? And so on the spot, I said yes, because what could I say? Dr. Hobart said yes, so I said yes too.
Mason had a rare craniofacial cleft that went not just through the lip and palate like most people, but went through the whole side of his face and his eye. A regular cleft is 1 in 750 births. These rare craniofacial cases may be 1 in several hundred thousand.
Mason was a dying baby. Mason was not able to eat because of the condition of his cleft lip that went all the way up to his eye. And it was open gap, and all you could see him just put his whole little fist into his open mouth, and he would suck on it.
His 9-month birthday that I saw him, and he weighed 8 pounds 9 ounces. So he was not doing particularly well at that time.
When we had a privilege of bringing Mason to have a surgery, when Dr. Hobart told me, Craig, bring him, I will take care of him. And when we went over there, Dr. Hobart picked him up, held him up, and said, my little one, we love you. We will take care of you.
Received a phone call from a lady who had received an email from a lady that was a volunteer for LEAP, and she sent her some photographs of this little girl from Russia that needed to come here. She had a severe craniofacial defect, and they needed to have a host family to take care of her during her surgeries. One night we were laying in bed, and I said, Jim, there's something I need to talk to you about.
Which was never a good thing when you hear that. She picked up her phone and she showed me the picture of Alona, and we both looked at it, and we just said, we need to do something. We didn't know what exactly it was that we were going to do, but I think we were pretty much committed at that point.
When I saw Alona, a beautiful little child with a whole great big hole in the middle of her face and a very, very complicated craniofacial problem, I knew that she would not be able to be helped in many places in the world. So I immediately contacted the lead board, and they said, yes, this is a case that we want to take.
Well, I think that they were hiding Alona for a long time, because I went to the orphanage, Kuznets orphanage, quite often. And I was allowed to see all of the children in those early years. But for some reason, they never showed me Alona. I don't think they considered her as to be a child that can be helped, or did they want to say, we have a child like that?
I don't think if, you know, Alona was not connected with LEAP, she'd still be in a back room in an orphanage in Russia. And never, this is gonna be real. She would have never gotten out of there. She would have never been educated.
But the handicapped child, such as Alona or Mason, would have had a terrible time, because what happens with the handicapped children, when they get to be 18 or so, they end up going into a sanatorium, which is basically asylum, where they are adults forever, and there's just nothing there.
Alona had a huge first surgery where worked with my neurosurgical partner, Dr. Fred Sklar and Doug Sin, and we repaired this humongous hole that she had running down the middle of her face and started to begin reconstructing her nose, which will not be complete until she's grown, but she's 80% there, and she's living a beautiful, normal life.
They put in a bone paste to fill in where he was missing bone under his eye socket. And his final surgery, his fourth one, he just had a little over a year ago to really kind of prepare his face for more surgeries after his face is finished growing.
LEAP has been, in all of this, and all of us, LEAP has been the individually biggest part of what has made a change in her life.
You know, she never would have been able to enjoy a snow cone. The first snow cone she had was fabulous. The thought of
Or have her
eating the
fingernails
ice.
painted, or wear a bikini swimsuit and go swimming in a pool. You know, none of those, she would never been able to experience any of those things that we kind of take for granted here.
Now, what more can you, the joy that you feel in your heart when you see this baby that was dying, that is right now so smart, so strong, so loving. God's blessing was upon him. Beautiful.
When we went back to finalize Mason's adoption in August of 2008, one of our first stops was the orphanage. And the people who had worked with him were amazed. They were so excited to see him as this chunky, vibrant, saying mama, running around, playing ball, stacking cubes. They were so excited. In fact, actually the first thing they did is when I walked in with him, they grabbed him out of my arms and they weighed him. They were so excited to see how big he was.
We know that her first surgery, which lasted about 13 hours, the discounted bill from Children's Medical Center was about $100,000.
And of course, that doesn't count any of the surgical time. The surgeons, the anesthesiologists, really all of the medical personnel donated their time.
Mason's surgeries, I'm sure, have run well into the six figures, and that's a lot of money. And but you look at that one kid, that kid's worth $1 billion.
Many of these doctors that donated their time for Alona are also going on the mission trips. This is the commitment that they've made to the LEAP Foundation because they feel they're called by Christ to do this.
We really planned on going on a single mission trip back in 1991 to the Dominican Republic, and you know, here 22 plus years later, we have operated on over 8,000 kids around the world. We've been involved in 19 different countries.
I think LEAP paints a picture of Christ's love, and Mason is just one example of the hundreds of children that LEAP has touched over the years. And it gives children a second chance almost in life. In some cases it's saved children's lives, like Mason, saved him.
Well, what I've noticed about the LEAP Foundation is that they have compassion for these children that have had no families and need medical care, and they reach out, and it's just unbelievable.
I think Alona and Mason, their stories are good examples of what LEAP does, but there are more and more kids out there that need the kind of care that the two of those kids got.
If I had to describe LEAP in one word, it would be love. That's what we do, is we give love to others, and we also share the love of Christ. And it's unconditional, and it's beautiful, and it comes back to you twice as much as you give. Well, you can't outgive God, and you can't out love God.